He's well known as the first American drummer of the German band called Scorpions.
It's a fascinating story. Drummer, we don't have any drummers. You want to be a drummer? And I said, sure.
What would you call the way you ended up as a member of the legendary band Scorpions? Chance or destiny?
To see shows and concerts. So I was able, the Who and Paul McCartney. When I got in with the Scorpions, they were not international yet. They were famous just in Germany. But eventually I moved from Pachuca to Mexico City because Mexico City is kind of like the heart of Mexico.
Yeah. Hello everyone, Johnny here, and yes, I'm speaking English because of our amazing guest. And so go ahead, send the children to sleep, grab your favorite beverage. That's right, beverage, and whatever you want to eat during this amazing show. And don't move from your seat because we have a very, very impressive rock star in the house tonight. And let me tell you a little something about him. He's well known as the first American drummer of the German band called Scorpions. That's right, ladies and gentlemen and gentle friends. Joe Wyman in the house tonight. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much for...
It's a pleasure to having you here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please have a seat. And we have so many things to ask you because you have many fans all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think I have to include myself into that. So thank you so much for being here. And I gotta go back to the very beginning. You started out as a musician very, very young.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Well, it's a fascinating story, and I really should tell it. And this is a true story. And I was about 11 or 12 in elementary school. I don't know what they call it in Mexico, but you know, the first.
Yeah, that should be primaria.
Yeah. And there was a music teacher that came to all the older classes, like the fifth, like 11, 12-year-old, 13-year-olds. And she said, I'm starting a school band.
Oh, cool.
And if you want to sign up, come to this room after school and sign up. And 2 days a week, you get to skip your last hour of class. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh, this would be great. I get to skip 2 classes at the end, which I didn't like for some, and I don't know what the class was, but it sounded like a good idea for me to do something different.
Yeah, I wish I could skip the whole school because I didn't like school at all.
Well, I actually enjoyed school. It just, for some reason, it's something attracted me to skip those 2 days and go to a music class. And so I went to after the bell rang, and I went to the room to sign up. There was, 15, 20 kids, lined up, and I was in the back. And when it was time for me to come up to sign up, the first thing the teacher asked me is, "What do you want to play?" And I go, "I don't know." I could have been a trombone player, a trumpet player, a flute, clarinet, whatever. And I said, I don't know. So she takes her list and she goes down the list. Drummer, we don't have any drummers. You want to be a drummer? And I said, sure. And that one teacher changed my whole life. I wouldn't be here today. And with all the experiences of that one teacher, she could have picked any instrument.
I know. Yeah.
And she picked drums. And
I don't picture you playing something else.
Yeah, and it's because it's like it's in my blood, playing drums. And fortunately for me, my parents were able to afford private lessons, and I took lessons. And and I got better and better. And during junior high and high school, I was first chair drummer. I just loved it so much. It was like the best thing that ever happened in my life.
What was your first gig? A parade, a game, or something?
Well, I did. Yes, I was in the marching band, so I did the parade thing, either the bass drum or the cymbals or the snare drum. But I just to go back a little bit. I did eventually, about 15 years later, I contacted the teacher and thanked her.
Oh, really?
And teachers are unsung heroes. They mold kids, and they could change. Like this teacher did in my life, and she was so grateful that one of her students called her back after so many years and thanked them. But for
nice.
that, so if you have a teacher that really helped you in your life, thank them. It's important for them to know that they accomplished something, and helped young people. But the nice thing about playing drums is that in that period of time there wasn't a lot of drummers. So I was 14, 15 years old playing in bars, and the kind of bars I was playing at, you have to be 21 to go in there.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I'm like the youngest person in there, but because I'm in the band, it's like I get a free get-in card because I'm the drummer in the band. So it was pretty interesting, and so I started playing at bars at a pretty young age.
All right. Okay, so you made your own way. Did you play in some other bands between that, well-known bands? Oh, the German band was the first one, and that leads me to the next question.
Mm-hmm.
What would you call the way you ended up as a member of the legendary band Scorpions? Chance or destiny?
Oh, that nothing is by chance. I believe everything happens for absolute purpose. You're always, a lot of people get anxious. I got to be here, I got to be there. Where you are in every given moment is where you should be, and you need to enjoy that moment in time and space. I'm getting, hopefully people don't think I'm crazy, but no, everything is for a reason.
I believe in that too, so it's not too crazy. But you were actually going in a different way when you got a call. How that? What happened there?
When I turned 18, 19, I sold my drum set. I sold my car so I could have money, and I wanted to go out and see the world. So I flew from, true story. This first time I ever flew in a plane. It's not just from this city to that city. It's across the whole ocean from the U.S. into I think it was Luxembourg, which had an airport, and I landed there, and I had enough money. I found I think in Belgium, I can't remember all the countries, but I bought a Volkswagen van and bought camping equipment and just kind of drove all over Europe. I started going up north in Scandinavia, Holland, and all that. And everywhere I went, I was always looking for to see shows and concerts. So I was able to see a lot of, like the Who and Paul McCartney and Wings, and the first tour of the band called Golden Earring, and they had a big hit. I forget the name of it, but so I'm traveling, and I end up in Germany. And back then, we didn't have cell phones and computers and everything, so you had nothing on you. So the only way to communicate was to actually write a letter, which would take about 2 weeks to get to the person, or call on the phone. And the phones were the dial phones.
Yeah.
This is how far back I go. And so music stores were the kind of like where all the musicians would gather and hang out together and look at all the new records and the new bands, and just it was the hangout.
Yeah, we have to wait for a little while to get the brand new album from our favorite bands, right?
Yeah, yep. And so I walk into this music store and I hear somebody talking on the phone English, because when you're traveling through all these different countries, and you're going through the back roads and you're not in the touristy areas, you don't hear a whole lot of English.
Yeah.
And so I hear someone speaking English. Oh wow, I can talk to somebody. And so I talk. He was the owner. His wife was German. He was from England. And we talked. And I said, well, I like to keep traveling, but I need to make some money. So I'd like to get into a band. And he helped me write an ad in a special music newspaper that all the record shops and the music stores would carry. And he gave me his number, and he put the store's number on that ad. So whoever would answer the ad would call the store and leave a message. And I would call him like once a week to see what's going on, if anybody replied. And 2 weeks go by, and I call him, and he said, yeah, there's 2 bands that are interested in auditioning for them. And I said, he named them, and I said, well, which one do you think is the better band? And he said, the Scorpions. And here's another person that, you could have said the other band. And to this day, I can't remember their names, but they were, he said, the 2 bands that, that asked me for an audition were in the top 2 or 3 of all of Germany. So when I got in with the Scorpions, they were not international yet. They were famous just in Germany. So he gives me their number. I call him. There was a tough time with a language barrier, but they put somebody on that spoke a little bit English, and they gave me the address. And after being in Germany in the music store, I was on my way south, through France, and I was just going to keep going. And they gave me the address. I called them up. They said, well, come on over and we'll, do an audition. And it took me like 3 days of driving back.
Wow.
So I got there and I auditioned. I said, you're in the band. So that's how.
Right away.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't wait. All right. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think one big reason that I was an asset is because I spoke English. So one thing that, and I think a lot of people know this, but there's some listeners that might not know this. If you want to become international, English is the international language that your music has to be in. So if you notice the Scorpions, their music is not in German. It's all in English. So they had to learn in fact, Klaus, when he first started singing, first few albums, until he actually started really learning English, he had to kind of just say the
sound.
Yeah, and half the time he probably didn't even know what it meant. They translated from German to English, and he had to just kind of remember the sound. So in early Scorpion days, in fact, even today, you could still hear his accent. The German accent is very strong.
So when you got in, it was around 71, 72?
72, 73.
72. Oh, yeah.
Kind of like in between the years.
Okay.
And so they, I auditioned, I got in the band, and we rehearsed twice a week for like 6 weeks. And the very first album, which is called Lonesome Crow, I had to learn everything on there, and we eventually learned that. We were working on a new material, and I actually wrote a song for them, and it never got publicized or anything like that because eventually I left the band. But It was recorded. So if you're interested in hearing
for sure.
raw Scorpions, there's a guy who snuck into one of our concerts. They actually kicked him out, but he was able to sneak back in with 2 microphones to get the stereo sound.
All right.
And on YouTube, if you look up, I think 72, 73 Scorpion bootleg music, you'll find it. And there's 6 songs that were recorded. And I think the first one is the song I wrote. And that's me, drumming with them. And that's, and we just did concerts, and a lot of the concerts we were opening for other, mostly British bands that were touring through Europe.
How was touring with the Scorpions? Did you guys get along good?
Yeah, there's a magic between musicians. Even if we can't communicate with our language, we can communicate with our music. And you know that you're a musician. There's a magic that happens, when everything just comes together.
Yeah, it's like another level.
Yes.
You don't even have to speak.
Exactly. So, we all got along and everything went well. The main challenge was, at that time, they weren't huge and they didn't make a lot of money, and they couldn't pay me, and I was running out of money. Yeah. And I couldn't, keep asking my parents to send me money, and which they did. They helped me out a little bit. And so eventually, I left the band. They just didn't make any money.
Wow, but look, who are they now?
Oh, yeah.
All they've accomplished.
Yeah, they charge from this is quite a few years back, $1 million a show.
Wow.
And to confirm that date, you have to send them $500,000.
Man.
Before they even consider it. Once you send them that $500,000, then they work out the logistics and what, all their...
Just for one show. That's amazing. What would you call... do you have any specific memories from a concert or event that changed your life?
Just, a musician's dream is to be on stage and play live in front of people. The energy is just crazy.
That's a feel.
It's just off the scale, when you're on stage and that magic happens, with the rest of the band. You know what I'm talking about. And
during that tour, what was the wildest country you hit, or the wildest town?
Well, it was just in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
The wildest town?
Hamburg, because Hamburg was was near the ocean, or it was a ports.
Hot people.
And there's some crazy stuff that went on, all the different, the crazy bars, and just all the stuff that was going on there. And here I'm, a naive 19-year-old, and trying to, what's going on here? And so that was a unique experience here, that particular city. But we just basically played, around Germany, and we were, in some cases, the opening act for American
bands.
No, British bands.
British.
that were on tour. And
any well-known band behind that?
Yeah. What's that guy's name? The song "Try with Little Help from My Friends." He did a cover of that.
Oh, Joe
Crocker. Joe Crocker. Yes. We opened. We were like the first, and then there was another band, then Joe Crocker, and then this other band called Atomic Rooster, which they never really became huge. They might have been big in
UK.
Yeah, because some bands they make it in the States, and they're huge in the States, and they come to Europe, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. Or then you got the Asian countries. There's some bands that are huge in Asia, and then they're not so crazy.
They come
Europe.
here, they don't do anything.
Yeah. Fortunately for the Scorpions, they became famous everywhere.
Yeah.
From their music, but that's it. And I kind of lost track of your question.
Me too. But I get involved into the conversations. But well, yeah, that was. I mean, we were talking about the wildest city during that tour,
Yeah.
which
was Hamburg.
close to the coast. I mean, I'm from the coast, so I know what you're talking about.
And we didn't stay in hotels or anything like that. After the show, we packed up and we drove back, and we got home sometimes 4, 5, 6 a.m. because it was many hours away.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's pretty. So we're gonna take that, and we have to go to some commercials from our dear sponsors, and we'll be back. So stick around. Me, late Johnny and friends, Joe Wyman, right here. Thank you. We'll be back. Stick around.
Bienvenidos a Team Sanet, donde la excelencia en tecnología se encuentra con la innovación empresarial.
Nos especializamos en resolver las necesidades de infraestructura de su empresa,
utilizando las últimas tecnologías disponibles en el mercado, desde la venta de equipos de cómputo
hasta arrendamientos estratégicos,
data centers, soluciones de movilidad
y software líder en su clase.
Dé el siguiente paso hacia un futuro digital con Team Sanet,
donde la tecnología se encuentra con el éxito empresarial.
Ya regresamos. We're back. And hace mucho calorcito. It's really hot out there, so that's why I'm drinking Solural. Recommended. Refreshing and really cool. So we're back here, Millet Union Friends, with the rock star Joe Wyman.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we have a little something where they call you.
Yes.
It's close, right there.
Yes.
So can we have that, Master? Yeah, take a look at this. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Today's one of the songs we go all the way back to the 70s, all right? Believe it or not, I'll tell you a little story. In the early days, we're driving around with our messed up van, the German autobahn, and we lost the drummer, We were looking for a new drummer. And the call came in, and this guy was from West Palm Beach, Florida. He was a great drummer, and still is, and he's here tonight. So Joe Wyman, come on. This is for you. Come on, Joe. Unfortunately, back in those days, our cars were not really, Joe Wyman. Well, it's always great, we come back to Florida, and see our old friends, that's wonderful. But the story wasn't quite finished, The reason Joe went back to Florida, one night we had a really severe accident. and he was on the steering wheel, and he was driving, and we didn't speak English, and nobody ever could say, brake, take the brakes, so we crashed totally that night, and I guess that was one of the reasons his beautiful girlfriend at the time said then, Joe, let's go home, Anyway, it's a long story, but those were the days, and I remember Rudolf saying, Klaus, one day we'll make it all the way to Florida, baby!
Oh, amazing. So
Yeah. You want me to kind of tell you what happened there?
What happened?
I've been fortunate enough, like honorary member of the Scorpions, even back at like their first tour in the late 70s and then 80s and 90s. So anytime they came to Florida and I was driving distance, I would go see them. And I get to go backstage and hang out with them and everything. And so this particular video was in Hollywood, Florida at the Hard Rock Cafe in sold out show. So I don't know, 8,000 people, whatever it was, in the audience. And I've seen them so many times that I was always more fascinated with the logistics behind the stage. Because you see 5 people, when you go to a concert, you see the people on the stage, but you don't realize they have like 30 people.
Yeah. It's army behind.
Yeah, and they're engineers that really know their stuff to make them sound good, look good, and make sure, that sound on stage everything is working perfect. So, and people don't see that, but it's fascinating. The logistics involved in putting a show together. So I'm always backstage kind of hanging out. And they all knew I was backstage because right behind the drum stage, and they're all like waiting to come out. So we're all sitting there and they have their guitar in the hand. They're just waiting for the cue so they can run out. So they all knew I was there. And after about 3 or 4 songs, that's when Klaus came out there. And nobody knew he was going to do that. And the bass player, Pavel, comes around the corner and said, Joe, Klaus is talking about you. Come on out. And I'm like, what? So I peek around the corner. And if you notice in that video, Rudolf Schenker grabs my hand, pulls me on stage. You can see he's pulling me up to Klaus, and I give Klaus a hug. But this is where, like the first time, he's Klaus, the lead singer of the Scorpions, is, telling the world, yeah, we had this drummer, Joe Wyman, that was our drummer.
That's amazing.
And, there's always, when I post stuff, there's people, there's the doubters. They think the last one said that I'm a fake. I was only with the band for 14 minutes. I don't know where he came up with 14 minutes. And so I posted that video. I learned a long time ago not to argue with people who think they know more about me than I do.
Yeah.
But that video absolutely proves I was with the Scorpions. Klaus.
Yeah.
Saying, yeah, we used to have this drummer
He's not
from Florida.
telling that every single concert. I know.
Yeah, it was just that particular concert.
I wish I had 1 second, not 15 minutes. 1 second. That's
had
amazing.
maybe, I don't know, 15 seconds come up and off. And then on the way back, Pavel, gives me a high five.
Yeah.
So that's the absolute proof that I was with the Scorpions, because back then we didn't have computers. People didn't go around, with their cell phones taking pictures and videos, and it just didn't happen. Eventually it did grow into that.
I used to wait for the magazines where you could see all the bands, what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. We had to wait at least 1 month to see what happened, because it wasn't commercial TV until we had MTV running.
I got a quick story if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When MTV first came out, it had maybe a rotation of maybe 8 videos. And, And so when you watched it, it just looped the same 8.
Yeah.
And then eventually became 9 and then 10. And by the time it got to, I think, about 12, the Scorpions were so lucky because one of their videos, and I can't remember if it's Rocky Like the Hurricane or The Zoo, one of their popular songs started in that loop. And that's, they were smart enough to realize videos were becoming so important in a band's, for growth.
Yeah.
You had to have videos for all your hits. So that started getting into the rotation. So that also helped them to become super famous.
Yeah, that's
MTV.
made a difference.
MTV made a lot of bands famous. Yeah.
I think the first one was the video Kill the Radio Star.
Yes.
And then when Dire Straits came with their hits, because they were talking about MTV, that was a marketing move, which was amazing.
Yeah,
money for nothing.
Yep, and that started the whole video craziness
industry. It was amazing.
So it wasn't just the music. Now it was tied in with a video.
Yeah. So what happened next? I mean, you were in Scorpions, then you moved to solo, you got into another bands, or what happened?
I moved back to Florida, and I got into several bands that had the potential of hitting it real big. The first one was, and they only came up with one album, is a band called Peace and Quiet.
Okay.
And it was the lead singer from Ted Nugent. And he toured with Ted Nugent. He was the lead singer for many years, and he decided to go out on his own. And we started playing, locally. He lived in West Palm Beach, nearby where I live. So he put a band together. I was his drummer, and we started playing around town. And unfortunately, he died from an overdose.
Oh man!
So that. And then I was in another band with a guy named Casper, and he was became a record star in his own place, and he did a tour with Foghat. He was the opening act. And we started a power trio, and that was starting to move. And then at some point, he decided to become a pastor.
Really?
And the whole he kind of put the rock industry aside because it's a tough business.
Yeah.
Some crazy things go on, and so he moved on. So for many, many years, I just kind of played locally, and the one thing that I really enjoyed was teaching. So I taught on and off for over 30 years, the drums.
Yeah, that goes by the hand to transcendence. I think teaching is the best way to stay forever around, right? Because you hand to someone else all your knowledge and wisdom.
And I don't know everything. I just know little bits and pieces, and if I can help a few drummers, that's
nice. What would be your influences for music?
Oh, that's easy. I grew up at a time where the top bands, you knew all of them. You knew the records, you knew all the songs, because, back then there was maybe, 50, 60, 70 bands in that same genre of hard rock. And you kind of knew all of them. Today there's just so much different styles and everything. You can't keep up with all the different styles. But I feel I was very fortunate. I grew up going to concerts in the late 60s, early 70s, okay? So you got Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and I've got to see some of the, first U.S. tour of Black Sabbath. And Ozzy was like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah, really young.
And so I got to, this is where my background is. So if I was to pick 3 or 4 drummers, I would say number 1 would be Keith Moon. He was just an animal on the drums. It went crazy. So I actually got to see The Who with Keith Moon several times. I got to see John Bonham, Led Zeppelin quite a few times, and Pink Floyd. So it would be Keith Moon, John Bonham, and oh gosh, why can't I remember the drummer in Cream, Ginger Baker.
All right.
He had a different style, but I picked up a lot of his, and also Mitch Mitchell, which was a drummer for Jimi Hendrix.
All right. Yeah.
And so between the 4, I kind of picked a little of everything and kind of picked up their styles and created my own style.
So, what happened? How you ended in Mexico, and what about the blackouts? Is that first you moved to Mexico? What happened?
Well, I first moved to Mexico. It's a long story. I try not to talk too much about it because there's a ex-wife
I know
involved.
Yeah. You let me know.
Don't want to really get into that aspect of it, but I ended up in Mexico in Pachuca.
Pachuca, yeah.
Pachuca.
I've heard that you were making a beer, right?
Yeah, in fact, I found when I first moved to Mexico, I went straight to Pachuca. Ended up in Pachuca. And Pachuca didn't have very many breweries that made artisanal beer. I love artisanal beer. You almost will never see me drink a conventional beer because there's so many good, tasty beers out there. Pachuca didn't have very much, so I decided, why don't I make my own and sell it, during the shows. And I found a little, what I call a mom and pop brewery, and it's literally a mom and pop.
Yeah.
And they bring the 2 girls to the brewery, and the girls do their homework while they do their, the beer. And so they make my beer. They're called Triple Siete Brewery. They're in Pachuca. If anyone out there want to make their own beer, they'll be happy to make beer for you. And my own label, and it's Joe Wyman and Blackout artisanal beer. I got 4 different flavors. And usually when I do a show, to not make it so confusing, I just bring like 2 flavors to keep it more simple. The number one selling one, and the number one selling beer that I have is called, it's a dark porter, and it's called Porter Mezcal. And there's real mezcal in it, and you can actually taste the flavor. And it's not super crazy as far as alcohol. It's like 6.5 or 7.
Oh, it's fine.
So it's not crazy. But
good enough.
Super tasty.
Good enough. Yeah.
And the next would be my Sessions IPA, and then I have 2 different IPAs, and I have a Belgium wheat. So I have 4 different flavors, and I autograph each bottle, and
they can have the picture.
And the picture if they like. Yes. So that's one thing that I do that some musicians don't, because I've worked with some musicians in Mexico, and as soon as the show's over, they just want to leave.
I know.
I stay until the very last person in the line, that wants a picture.
Yeah, I've been there. And that's true.
I autograph everything, and the fans. They're the most important asset of any band. If you don't have fans, who's going to come see you?
That's the reason why we were there.
Yeah. So, and it's a lot of hard work, especially after you're playing for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then I tell everyone, just give me like 10 minutes, and then I'll be back out for pictures. And sometimes there's a short line, sometimes there's a long line. I did this thing at a college. I did an interview at a college. Gosh, I should remember the name of it. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
But I didn't realize after, the whole college knew I was there. It was one of those colleges that does media and music and stuff like that, like an arts college.
All right.
And so half the college decided to wait in this long line to have pictures and autographs with me. 2 hours.
Man.
And I waited until everyone
Lasted more than the show.
Yeah. So, I do that. I appreciate the fans. I know how important they are. And I'm just that way.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool because many artists right now, they don't care about their fans. And I mean, we work for them.
Yeah.
They're really important.
Yeah, and that's where I first met you. I'm trying to eat my dinner, and I couldn't because I had to stand up and take pictures.
One after the other, but that was really nice. Yeah, they were wearing for you. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
So the blackouts, what happened there? Yeah.
Well, when I came to Mexico as a musician, it's like it's in your soul, it's in your blood. You can't just give it up, So. Yeah. Eventually, I started to go to bars in Pachuca to hang out with bands. And one day, and I didn't, come to Mexico, or I didn't come to Pachuca and say, "Hey, I'm the Scorpion drummer. Look at me, I'm great." I really didn't tell anybody. And one day, I go to a bar, and after the show, they wanted to, they asked for a palomazo. And somebody who knew I was from the Scorpions, there's a few people that knew, asked me if I want to go up and play. And so this is a fascinating story. So, and I'm not a young person, and there's this guy, and the day before, when the pyramid was open, I was so ashamed they closed it down. Where the pyramid of the sun. And I forget the name of it, but you can climb all the way up. It's like 245 stairs at a 45-degree angle.
Almost like the Egyptian pyramid.
No, and the one in Mexico.
Yeah, Teotihuacan.
That's it. And you were able to go up to the top. So I just went up and came down. My legs were like killing me. And I'm sitting down watching this. And so they come up, one person, and say, "Hey, you want to do a palomazo?" And it's like,
what?
Yeah, I haven't played in a couple months. Yeah, it'd be great. And so as I'm going up, the people that I was with, they overheard this table, these two guys in the table, and say, one bet the other. He said, "Oh, this guy, he can't play drums. I bet you that he can." So I go up, and when I play, am I allowed to cuss? Am I allowed to say bad words?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Help yourself.
So when I hit the fucking drums, I hit them hard and I play powerful. And most drummers are just kind of, and I just hit the fucking drums. You got them, play the drums. And so I get up there and it's like everyone's going, whoa, and I'm like cranking away and beating drums. So I proved to everybody that I can actually play the drums. And, I'm not the best or the fastest, but, I have an attitude on the drums. It's powerful. And that's what I try to do each time I play. And so that kind of opened the door, and all these people were starting to go on, the Facebook or whatever and say, "Oh, yeah, he's, from the Scorpions."
The real thing, yeah.
So I started to become kind of almost famous, and eventually I started, a couple different. We went through some transitions, and then I realized that each time I go through a transition, I got to change the name because this name didn't work right. So I figured Joe Wyman and the Blackouts. The Blackouts can be anybody.
Fits well, yeah.
The band can, and which over time it's kind of morphed into with different musicians. And today I have an amazing group of musicians that work with me. And we are, so anybody out there need a band, I got an amazing band. So we're looking for work and more recognition. But eventually I moved from Pachuca to Mexico City because Mexico City is kind of like the heart of Mexico.
Yeah, it has it all.
It's just so much more opportunity here. And my whole band is from Mexico. So they all live in Mexico City. So it makes it very convenient for me and to be where my band is and we can work together. And but that's so now Joe Wyman and the Blackouts. We have a lot of pending shows. We're just waiting for confirmations.
All right.
The only thing we have confirmed at this point is June 20th,
All right.
and that's at the Hendrix Morrison Bar. There's a Hendrix Bar and then a Hendrix Morrison, so there's two of them. So don't go to the wrong one.
Where is? Do you know the location?
It's in Mexico City. And we live pretty close together.
Yeah.
So I would say 20, 30 minutes.
That's pretty close being here, right? For Mexico City, is
When
nothing.
there's not too much traffic.
Yeah.
When there's traffic, maybe 45. But
Still fine.
It's pretty close by. It's in Mexico City. We also work with several McCarthy's. We're just waiting for a confirmation with a few of those. And some other bars. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to meet a owner from another bar. And, it's slowly starting to happen.
It's
But
happening.
Mexico City is the place,
This is the right spot to start it up, even
If you're an
for
artist.
all Latin Americans right here. And you sound really good. I mean, you and the Blackouts.
That's that night that you heard me play.
Yeah.
Okay, I was playing on and I'm not trying to knock the place, but most places have really horrible drum sets, and
Yeah.
that drum set did not sound very good, and it's kind of tough for me because I want to be professional, and it's not like I'm snobbish or I'm a diva, but my reputation is on the line.
Yeah.
So and if I would have known that I had to play on that set, I probably wouldn't have done it, but it was kind of too late, and they called me up, and I went and did it. I always want to make sure that the equipment I'm playing on is, of better,
The proper
it's gonna
way.
sound good.
Yeah.
So if you thought that sounded good, and a lot of times I bring my own drum set because that's the only way I'm for sure,
right.
And some of these places that do have a drum set, I ask them to take a picture of it. I had a drum set business where I bought and sold drum sets. I cleaned them up, and I resold them. And so I'm not a total expert on anything, but I kind of learned a lot about drums, and I can just look at a drum set from a couple different angles, and I can tell you whether it's going to be good or not. And, so even your average set can sound good if it's tuned properly. So there are times where I bring my own set just to make sure that I'm covered.
And even they do the sound check last minute, so that's why sometimes you can
Sometimes
make it sound
between the
good.
first and second, third song, they're tweaking the sound.
adjustments
But
over here and there.
Yeah, and you probably have gone through this. You come early and you do the sound check, and everything's working. The monitors and the singers. Sometimes I have two singers, a male and female singer, and they work together, and everything's working fine. And then you get on stage, and this is not working. That's not working. It's like,
It's not
what
working.
happened? you know,
They do that. They like to do that.
it's sabotage. So somebody sneaks around and changes.
They don't want you to sound like you should.
Yeah.
And what about if we take a look of one video from the Blackouts? Joe Wyman and the Blackouts. We have, what would you like? We have The People. We have I'll Be Fine.
Either one, they're both great songs, and over time we actually have 4 originals now, and each time we play it, we were like refining it. So whatever you see on the video, I feel we're actually playing it better than a video because we refined it, and we were trying to make it more raw, more harder harder rock. But
I like better when the band sounds way better live than during the records.
well, that's another thing. We don't do any sequences or any click
Yeah,
track or
totally
anything.
live.
It's just like they did back in the late '60s, early '70s.
That's amazing.
'70s, all those Jimi Hendrix and all them. They didn't have click. They didn't have all this sound effects stuff going on. Not that that's a bad thing, but when you do that on a video, and then you try to reproduce that on stage, then you need to add that, and it takes away from the artistic flow.
The real thing.
Especially a click. It's just so mechanical, and it does, and music flows.
Yeah, when you're
okay
not attached, you can go your own way. Right?
And it just flows. It's never an absolute straight line unless there's a click track, and click tracks can sometimes throw you off and stuff like that, because you want to feel the music from here, not from click click click.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Yeah, either video.
What about the people? Let's go with the people, and
perfect.
you'll see what we're talking about. All right, so let's go. Joe Wyman and the Blackouts. The people right here. Me, Lake, Johnny, and friends. Oh, wait a minute. What's my name? Yeah, why?
Imagínate encontrar comodidad y moda conviviendo en un solo lugar.
Bienvenidos a Team Sanet, donde la excelencia en tecnología se encuentra con la innovación empresarial.
Nos especializamos en resolver las necesidades de infraestructura de su empresa,
utilizando las últimas tecnologías disponibles en el mercado, desde la venta de equipos de cómputo
hasta arrendamientos estratégicos,
data centers, soluciones de movilidad
y software líder en su clase.
Dé el siguiente paso hacia un futuro digital con Team Sanet,
donde la tecnología se encuentra con el éxito empresarial.
Bravo!
We're back.
Now we're talking. That's amazing.
Now we're talking.
And you sound actually better live. So I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So how long took you? That's Pachuca, right?
That was filmed in Pachuca in a building that was a factory that was built. I forgot the name of it. Sorry. Back in the late 1800s.
Oh, really?
And some of it's a huge, massive factory. They build a lot of crazy things there, but over time. But the metal beams and stuff were made by the same company that built the Eiffel Tower. So it has a pretty unique history, and some guy got the property, and he's kind of revamping the whole building, and it's going to be like a museum slash
nice.
All kinds of shows and stuff there. So they're making it, gosh, what is it called? Like a local place to go that has a lot of history. I'll think of the word in a second. I can't remember. But
it's a historic place.
Yeah, it's historic, and but it's
we have many of those in
all
every single
over.
magic small town. Pueblo Mágico.
Yeah, that's
We have a
true.
lot of that. All right, and so are you getting ready something, an album or something, or you're working on it?
We have four. We have two that you can find on YouTube. The people, and I'll be fine. And we have two more that, and you know what it's like. We have to go into a studio and record everything, and it just takes a lot of time and money. And is it worth it? I just want to go out and play live. Do I want to spend the time recording and all that? It has its place, but it's not like it used to be.
For someone that is just getting started, it's fine.
Yeah,
But,
so
you
we
have
figured
a
two
long
would be,
career.
Yeah, two would be two is plenty, and the engineered recorded videos. Two is fine for me. We have two more that we play forward sometimes during our shows, depending on what the venue wants, and depending on how many Scorpion songs they want.
Yeah.
And we have two more in the works. So the idea is that sometimes festivals don't want cover bands. They want bands with original music. So if we have 6 originals, we'll be in good shape, because normally it's 25, 30, 35 minutes, and boom, you're off. So 5, 6, 7 songs. So we do 6 originals, maybe 1 cover song and 1 Scorpion song. We'll be in.
That'll be right.
Got to do that one sneak that one Scorpion song in there. But that was the whole idea of starting to do originals, and I got into writing lyrics, and I thought it's hard at first, but if you just come up with an idea and start working around that idea, and because I'm up on a second story level in where my room is, and sometimes I'll just sit and just look out the window and watch the traffic and all the crazy stuff.
Life happening.
The vendors that come by and make all the noise with the bells and the whistles and that recording. I forget the name of that recording where they're
Se compra.
Yeah, that's the one.
I know.
At 7 in the morning, they wake you up, and
Really
so
sharp.
it's fascinating. So I came up with some lyrics for a song. Just looking out my window. What do I see? Hundreds of people that will never know me, and just stuff like that, and just thinking about life, and each person going by has their own unique life that they're going
I
to,
know.
and it's like, where are they going? What are they doing? What are they thinking? Are they happy? Are they sad?
That's actually pretty interesting. It's good
So
you're doing that.
you gotta. That idea came to me when I'm looking out the window. So you just start with one line, looking out my window.
That's nice.
What do I see? But a lot of unhappy people, or what, you know, and you just start there. And some bands start with the lyrics and work the music around it. Some bands start with the music and then work the lyrics in. And I was able, one of my guitarists, I was so surprised. I gave him the lyrics and he came up with 2 songs. And they're all in that same hard rock. We're not the heavy speed metal band, and we're not pop. You know, we're just kind of, if you cut, you know, pop and that speed death metal, we're not even in the middle. We're a little bit more to the harder side of rock.
How would you call your style?
Hard rock.
Hard rock?
Yeah.
Pure?
Yeah, just like, you know, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, you know, those bands. It's hard rock.
I see coming like a new wave of that's original
You
rock.
know, there are people that are telling me, oh, you know, the classic rock is dead. And I don't see that. You go to every bar, they're playing The Doors, they're playing Creedence, they're playing Black Sabbath, they're playing Led Zeppelin, they're playing Pantera. I mean,
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden, yes, that's a good one. And what's that band that just played in Mexico a couple days ago? And the singer left and he came back.
Judas Priest.
Yeah, they're playing their songs. So how can you tell me?
Every single time I go, I can hear. You can hear Painkiller, Breaking the Law.
Yeah.
Love Bites.
So that's why they call it classic music. It'll never die. And just to give you a quick story, when I used to teach in a small music store, I had my own, I was the drum teacher, and my students, I said, well, find a band, you know, simple songs like the Beatles or the Stones, something that you can follow and start learning. And or I asked them, you know, what bands what do you want to learn? And they'd say, no, I want to learn AC/DC and Jimi Hendrix, and especially the guitarist, you know, because I'm also, you know, I'm listening and I'm talking to the other teachers and their students, and I can hear they're, you know, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, I want to learn Jimi Hendrix, you know, and, you know, so that's why they call it classic rock, you know, and it's passed on from generation to generation.
There is a place right here in Mexico City called School of Rock.
Yeah.
So you can actually go there, learn how to play something, and they put you on stage with a real band so you can rehearse.
There were several. I had one of my drum students in the States joined that School of Rock, and he became their top drummer. I was so proud of him, and so whenever they did shows, I'd go see them, and you're always proud when you see your students advance, and he's still playing today, which is great.
That's amazing. Yeah. How can people reach you to hire you and the band for a gig? Through any phone, email, social media? How can they reach you?
Well, at the end of that one video, remember with Klaus,
there's the social media.
Yeah, but it's Joe Wyman Artist is my professional page, and then Joe Wyman Artist or Joe Wyman Official on Instagram. And I'm going to be set up on TikTok really soon.
I'll see you there, my friend.
So
you have your official YouTube page, which is Joe Wyman, the Blackouts column official, and the other one Instagram Joe Wyman of this is low official too, and Joe Wyman Artist on Facebook.
Yes,
is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's not you can get anywhere in Mexico. I mean, the whole country. You can go anywhere with the band.
I have in the past. I've played all the way Tijuana, Mexicali, Monterrey, Puerto Vallarta. I haven't been to Cancun yet, but Aguas Calientes,
that's a good one.
Guadalajara, all over Mexico City, We will travel if the conditions right. I mean, I'd rather stay in Mexico City. It's so much easier. My whole band lives here. You do the show, you finish, everyone goes home.
You go back
You don't
home,
have to worry about driving for hours, you know, at 3, 4, 5 a.m., getting home late. Although we do, it's like after the show, nobody wants to go home. Well, and I'm sure you know what it's like. Your adrenaline is just going 100 miles. Your body's tired.
You can't go to sleep.
You cannot sleep for about 3 hours at least. You know, so the band, we all just hang out, and then they all, you know, we have a couple beers and chat about the show or, you know, whatever. And we still end up getting home at 4 or 5. And
we should put together our bands, Mexican Vampires and the Blackouts. That'll be awesome.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in November we're gonna have in Cancun. We're gonna have the Flipper Motley Crue, Skid Row. I'm not sure, but there will be like 8 bands together.
All in
this
one day?
coming November.
Oh, nice.
Cancun. Maybe we should go there.
Well,
Hit the road.
Not maybe we should go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. That'll be awesome. We should bring all our fans and friends to make a noise right there.
That's what we do, but we make beautiful noise.
Yeah. Joe, it's been a pleasure and honor to have you here in our humble show.
It's my honor to be, you know, at my age and to still be rocking and have the physical and mental and ability to still keep going. And I really, I think Mick Jagger is like 80, 81.
Yeah,
Klaus is 70. Klaus and Rudolph, who kind of started the whole thing. Actually, Rudolph started the Scorpions. Klaus came in later.
Oh, really?
So he wasn't the first singer. And, no, they're both 76. And, you know, they're all these old rockers that are still out there going for it. And I'm just going to keep playing. I love it. I've become like a teenager on the, you know.
Yeah, I know. I saw you have a lot of energy right there. Can I ask you a huge favor?
Sure.
Could you give a piece of advice to those potential rock stars that are on their way to do something?
I got amazing advice. And this is not, I didn't make this up. This is from Miles Davis. He's a famous jazz trumpet player in the U.S. And he's world renowned, very famous person. If you're in that jazz, you know, if you know anything about jazz, you know Miles Davis. Somebody asked him that exact same question. And when I heard it, it made me change my whole attitude towards my drumming. And this is quite a few years ago. And basically, if you take 100% as a musician, just 20% of that is your ability to play the right notes. Be in key, play the right notes, stay in tempo. Whether you're a drummer or you're playing a melodic line, to know your part perfectly. The other 80%, which is almost the most important, is your fucking attitude on stage. And this is how Miles Davis says it. You got to have that attitude. You got to be doing something on stage and people say, whoa, they look at that guy or gal, you know, they have an attitude. And, you know, all the rock stars of the past did something, or just the way they moved. I mean, look at Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen, Janis Joplin. They all had some kind of a unique style.
Their own tastes.
Yeah, so that's my advice. You know, definitely work on your instrument and just be absolutely as perfect as you can. No such thing as being perfect. That's another line. There's no such thing as perfect. There's almost perfect. So you always strive to be almost perfect. And I mean, there's a famous violinist. He's 80-something years old, and he's still practicing.
Strauss?
I can't remember his name, but
he started out at the age of 80, and at the 83, he did his first concert.
Yeah,
something like that.
And he's in No, well, I'm not sure if it's the same one, but this guy is already world famous, and people ask him why are you still practicing? And he's, you know, so you always get better because you're never perfect. You get almost perfect. So strive to be almost perfect and create some kind of attitude on stage. Now, for drummers, obviously, because we're stuck in one place and we can't, you know, we can just move our arms and our head and our body. We can't really get around. So it's even more important for drummers to come up with something, you know, throw your sticks or whatever. But you got to have that attitude on the drums, you know, play more powerful, you know, more powerful on the drums. Everyone else gets to run around and do crazy things.
I know.
You know, but the drummers are kind of stuck there. But attitude, 80%.
We have to apply that.
You'll get a lot more work.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want you on stage. Wow, that guy's really rocking out. And another thing is smile. A lot of musicians take things so seriously. It's like, you should be having fun, you know. So when I'm drumming, I'm just like, I'm having this party inside myself, and I'm like, wow, man, having so much fun. But you got to if you outwardly show it in a real way, it just you know, you shine and you light up the crowd. Right. They say, wow, look how much fun he's having. You know, I want to do that, you know.
If you don't believe it yourself,
yeah,
no one will.
So you create that attitude, but it can't be fake attitude. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be you coming out of your shell, coming out of your, you know, your soul coming out in the music.
That's right, yeah.
So
thank you so much, Joe.
I got enough material for another 3 shows.
We could have maybe 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah,
we want to do that.
I got a lot of stories with the actual Scorpions, and when I was with them, I got a bunch of little stories with Klaus and Michael Schenker and Rudolph and you know, all the little going on things, little things.
We have to do the
during
special
shows and after shows.
Yeah,
yeah, and then I got a lot of stories of me being backstage with them, you know, and one of the great opportunities is not only hanging out with them, but hanging out with other bands, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah. We want to prepare something special with that.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
That's amazing. Thank you so
everyone
much.
Out there.
Joe Wyman, everyone. Thank you for being here. Me late, Johnny and friends. And we'll see you around. We're going to say goodbye with another amazing video. And stick around. I'll see you next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.